Greetings fellow gamers, and welcome to this brand new installment of Knowledge Up. OP. At this rate, it has practically become a trademark of salty, immature players all around the world. Everyone is born with the sacred knowledge of the golden truth of gaming. If I win, I shall spam GGEs in chat, and let the enemy know how pathetic they were, as my skills were clearly superior. If I lose, however, the responsibility shall lie in my internet connection, in my heavy teammates, or, of course, in the game being unfair to me. Now, for those few that have lived under a rock for the past 30 years, first of all, thank you for watching, you must be very loyal. Second of all, OP stands for overpowered. Its definition is not too difficult to understand. It is simply a mechanic, character, move, weapon, or any other element in a game that reduces the amount of effort that the user needs to put in order to win, and therefore increases the amount of effort that the receiver needs to put in order to win, that being the AI or an enemy player. You see, back in the good old days, there were actually some games with perfectly symmetrical gameplay, that being games capable of reaching perfect balance. Take Karate for the NES as an example. Both players control the exact same character, which had the exact same moves and the exact same space to move around in the screen. Ergo, the game was completely fair and the winner could truly state that they were indeed the best player of karate for the NES. Yet, there was a problem with this style of gameplay. It was a bit boring. The gameplay would always be the same and the matchup would never change. As they say, variety is the spice of life, so non-symmetrical fighting games soon began to pop up. However, it was at that point that it became quite clear that perfect balance in non-symmetrical games was extremely hard to achieve, if not impossible. There are so many variables that you have to take into account, beyond just the moves of every character, from their hitboxes to the starting position of the players. Of course, this is just the case for fighting games in particular, but many other genres, among which there are also many single-player games, also present overpowered elements. From the psychic type in the first generation of Pokémon to Oddjob in the multiplayer of GoldenEye, or heck, even things like the cape in Super Mario World. It seems even the tiniest of overlooks can create a monster of an OP character or mechanic that can potentially break the game. So what kind of solution could be put in place to stop this madness? Well, how about we create a different kind of game? One that would allow for extremely asymmetrical gameplay and still keep a level of balance. Ladies and gentlemen, the MOBA. Very simple but also quite clever was the way in which this genre solved the OP situation. First of all, most MOBAs have only one competitive map. Sure, League has the Howling Abyss and some other game modes, but those are intended for a more casual approach to the experience. This apparent limitation actually works tremendously in favor of the developers, as they have to create and balance each character based only on one map. Just imagine what a headache it would be to try and implement champions like Bard or Illaoi in a game with multiple stages, each with its own layout. And that's just the two easiest examples I could think of, but many other elements can be calculated and balanced in a very exact way. But the biggest factor that contributes both to the balance and variety of these games is their final goal. The aim of MOBAs is not to kill the enemy players, but to obtain certain objectives in the map. And to do that, you cannot work alone. You have to behave as a unit, as a team. As such, every character has a specific role to fill, a job essential for the success of the mission, whether that would be healing, dealing damage, or applying crowd control. Now, as a direct consequence of this, in the traditional sense of the word, and here's the big reveal, most characters in a MOBA are broken as shit. Case in point, Yasuo. Of course it feels unfair when he kills you when you're playing a squishy immobile champion, but that's because that's literally what he was designed to do. Yes, he has a quote-unquote overloaded kit, a passive shield, a shield that blocks all projectiles and double crit chance, but take any of these things away and he will be worthless. And the same goes for all the other quote-unquote OP champions. Fizz can turn invincible, that's unfair. LeBlanc has too much mobility, that's so broken. No, it's not. But how come? Well, that's exactly why I'm talking about these champions. because they reveal one of the most common stupid misconceptions that a lot of people have with the game. Because guess what? All of these guys are actually very easy to kill. Literally, any CC murders them. By the press of a button, a champion like Nautilus or Maokai can doom them to die. Yet, am I gonna make sure that our team has champions with CC or champions that can peel so we can shut assassins and other offensive champions down? Or am I at least gonna make sure that our team comp makes any sense whatsoever? Nah, I'm just going to pick whatever the hell I was planning on before we even got to champ select and hope for the best. What I mean by most characters being OP is that in League of Legends, certain champions counter others, and certain classes of champions counter other classes. Assassins were specifically designed to shut down AD carries and squishy mages, and so, through AD carries and squishy mages, they are naturally going to feel broken. But at the same time, many tanks can counter assassins. So a Yasuo that just got killed because he got one basic attack from a Nautilus, or because Maokai decided to press W on him, is naturally going to feel like these characters are broken. And at the same time, Nautilus and Maokai can easily get killed by a Bane who can penetrate through their armor, so they're going to feel like Bane is OP. And so we get into this weird situation in which every champion is broken and nobody is broken at the same time. What people fail to realize is that games are won and lost in Champion Select. Picking for the team is not something that some players should do on occasion because they feel in a good mood, it should be the norm. So, League players, I would like to invite you to, before you just lock in your main champion, drink a cup of water and think. Look at your team, look at the enemy team, and ask yourself, what can I do to help them and what can I do to counter them? Now, I'm not saying that you should always pick a tank or someone who applies CC. That was just to counter Yasuo specifically. There are many other ways in which you can help your teammates out. Heck, you can still be an egotistical asshole about it, you just have to plan your strategy around the other players. Let me give you an example. Let's say that you notice that the enemy team has better teamfight potential than yours. However, they don't have any champions that are good in 1v1 scenarios. In that case, you can just pick a split pushing champion like Tryndamere and just go ham in the top lane. Thus, you are putting pressure on the map, you are relieving pressure from your allies, and you can still act like a selfish douche. Everybody wins! Or let's just say that you notice that their jungler has a slow clear. In that case, you can pick a champion like Udyr or Trundle and counter jungle the crap out of them. You're still putting pressure on the enemy jungler, you're relieving pressure from your lanes, and you're being a good teammate even if you don't mean it. So just pick for the team, please. It's sad that people are often forced to rely solely on the fact that the game is snowballing. Players are often encouraged to pick hyper-carry champions and win the game by themselves because they simply cannot trust their team. But there is a huge skill gap between being relatively good at your elo and being good enough to win every single game. This creates the massive difficulty and learning spike that results in what's known as elo hell. Everyone is trying to play solo and be the hero because they cannot trust anyone else, without realizing that by acting that way, they themselves are becoming a teammate that you can't trust. Now let's get something clear. I am not implying that something being OP is impossible in MOBAs, because it actually can and has happened. Yet, I feel like a line has to be drawn somewhere between actually unfair and just how the champion is supposed to work. And I think in one of the biggest competitive games in the world that releases patches every other week, balance would be at least at a decent level, wouldn't you? Anyway, maybe for some all of this rambling may be kind of obvious, but I am honestly tired of the whining and complaining of sore losers who do not see the problem in having a solo mentality in a game that's all about teamwork. For now, thank you for watching and please remember to keep your knowledge up, for your sake and for the sake of my promos.